virus emerging in India. It is essentially a virus carried by animals like fruit bats, and it can, in some rare cases, jump to humans and cause serious illness. Government and the National Institute for Communicable Disease have come out and said there's no immediate risk to South Africa, but scientists are monitoring closely and boosting awareness so communities have the facts that they need to protect themselves. With no specific vaccine or any kind of treatment yet available, it looks like early detection, hygiene, and informed preparedness are the key here. And we're going to be learning a bit more about this Nipah virus. Who's at risk of contracting it? What is it exactly? How does it differ from maybe the COVID-19 virus? We'll be answering some of those questions with the head of the Center for Emerging Zoonotic and Parasitic Diseases, Dr. Jacqueline Weyer. Doc, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to News and Views. I really appreciate you giving us your time.
Good morning.
I think we'll jump right into it and start with some clarity for some of our listeners. What exactly is the Nipah virus, and how does it differ from more familiar viruses like the influenza and COVID-19?
I think you gave a wonderful introduction, so maybe I should be interviewing you. So yes, let me try and summarize and link to your introduction. So the Nipah virus infection is caused, of course, by Nipah virus. This is a zoonotic virus. What this means is that the virus can spread from animals to people. In this instance, the virus can also spread from the reservoir animal to other animals. So the reservoir animal you've actually already mentioned, it's certain species of fruit bat. So it's specific species that are found in the countries where we have reported Nipah virus outbreaks before. And obviously fruit-eating bats. They're quite interesting animals if anyone is interested to find out more. So the virus is found in these animals every day of the year for many years. We've known outbreaks of Nipah virus to occur since 1998. But under certain circumstances, the virus can spill over either to other animals, and animals such as pigs and horses and dogs, for example, have been affected with Nipah previously. But then also the virus can spill over to the human population. Now, with some zoonotic conditions, we don't see further spread from human to human, but with Nipah, there is the risk for transmission from person to person. This transmission is through very close contact. This makes it very different from COVID-19 and influenza, which spreads very readily through droplet transmission. So if you cough or you sneeze, then the virus is carried through those droplets in the air, and you can actually be on this side of the room and somebody on the far side of the room can be exposed when you sneeze or cough. This is not the instance with Nipah, and I think that's very important to realize. So I've mentioned that we've known Nipah virus since 1998 when the first outbreak of this disease occurred. And the current outbreak in West Bengal, India, is actually the 17th outbreak of this disease. So if we again compare it to COVID-19, here we have a very rare condition that causes outbreaks intermittently. It sort of pops up every now and then. Sometimes years go by without us having any reported outbreaks. But with COVID-19, we found the emergence of a new virus, which we did not know before, and decisions had to be made based on very little knowledge of this virus and what it could do. With Nipah, this is different. We've got lessons learned from 17 outbreaks that we can use in our decision making.
What are some of the most common ways that the virus can be transferred to humans? You mentioned that human to human, that's confirmed. Outside of that, are there some common ways that you can contract the virus? And also, who's at risk here? What demographic of the population is at most risk of contracting the virus?
So, in the endemic countries, so this is a country where we find the virus circulating in those fruit bats, and South Africa is not endemic for this disease. We find that people that would have close contacts with fruit bats specifically have been at highest risk. The first outbreak of the disease actually involved pig farms. And this was an interesting case where the fruit bats that harbor the virus were actually feeding on dates on palm trees on this farm. And the way that fruit bats feed on fruit, they actually suck the juice and the flesh of the fruit and then spit out the fibers and the pips. So beneath the palm trees where these bats were feeding, the pigs were kept in their pens, and then these pigs became exposed. So the people that had contact either with the contaminated fruit material from the bats or contact with these pigs that actually serve to be an amplifying host for the virus was actually affected. And we sort of see a similar trend over time with other outbreaks. So people that have that type of close exposure. Then, if we look at human to human spread, this is really through very close contact. So, most of the human cases of Nipah virus infection historically have been associated with household contacts. So, people that maybe are taking care of the sick and have very close contact with the excretions and the secretions of that person. And then also, of course, healthcare workers. And even in this current outbreak in West Bengal, India, the two cases that have been confirmed have been reported in two healthcare workers. So, just to bring South Africa into the picture, so where could we, or where does the risk come in for South Africa? This would be through international travel. So
Mhm.
the disease is not endemic in our country. There's no risk of acquiring the disease locally as it stands at the moment. But as with many other travel diseases, we know that diseases get onto aeroplanes and fly across the globe daily. It's a daily occurrence. So things or diseases do spread this way. So this is the risk for South Africa.
Mm.
But I think again in this case we need to understand that we've got two confirmed cases. These are healthcare workers from one hospital in Parasitic, West Bengal, India. Um, Contact tracing and monitoring of over 200 individuals in the affected area have not revealed any additional cases of the disease. So this means that we are not seeing community-wide transmission of the virus. So if we start thinking about likelihoods of a traveler, even to the affected area becoming exposed, it's really exceedingly low.
Mm, mm. You say low, but I'm sure a lot of my listeners are probably shaking their heads because of the experience that we've had with COVID-19 and how at some point it felt so distant and far away, and we ultimately found ourselves in lockdown. So let's talk measures so that we don't find ourselves in the same situation. Are there measures that one can protect themselves against contracting the virus? And also, symptoms wise, are there any specific symptoms earlier on after contracting the virus? What should listeners look out for? And when should someone consider seeking medical attention?
Yeah. So at this stage, there's really no justification for recommending any precautionary measures because the risk is approaching zero. Because this virus spread from human to human through close contact. Remember, it's not the same as COVID-19, where the virus could spread in public places like malls or on aeroplanes and so forth. This is not the case with Nipah virus infection. And just to also remind you that we are now encountering the 17th outbreak
Mm,
of this disease, and this disease has never spread community wide. Most of the outbreaks actually involved less than 30 cases, far less than 30 cases actually. And so it tells you a little bit about how this virus is spread. So no cases of Nipah virus spread through international travel in our experience with 17 outbreaks to date. Having said that, we need to continue monitoring the situation and be vigilant. We know that viruses can change, they evolve. Um, And if we would be in a situation where the Nipah virus becomes more transmissible from human to human, then I think we need to have a different conversation. But that is not the case at the moment. In terms of the signs and the symptoms of the infection, so as with many viral infections, the initial presentation of the disease is very generic, non-specific. People will have fever, they will have body aches, headaches, feeling tired, and that could be flu, that could be COVID-19, that could be many other or be associated with many other causes. But with Nipah virus infection, we see rapid progression to pneumonia and respiratory distress, so very severe respiratory complications. These patients are hospitalized. They are not walking around on the streets. And in a subset of the patients, you can see the brain being affected as well. So how this presents is the patient would be confused. You might see signs of delirium. There might be convulsions. Patients might slip into a coma, depending on the severity of that particular case. So you're seeing that this is a very severe disease. These are patients that will be hospitalized. They're not going to be walking around on the street.
They have it, Dr. Jacqueline Weyer. Thank you so much for training us and for those very, very important insights. So you can't be too careful these days. I think COVID-19 taught all of us a lesson. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
There you go. That was Dr. Jacqueline Weyer from the Center of Emerging Zoonotic and Parasitic Diseases, breaking down what the Nipah virus outbreak out in India means for us here in South Africa, giving us insight also on how the virus spreads, some practical steps every listener can take to stay safe and stay protected, even though authorities have come out to stress that risk remains quite low here in South Africa and there's no need for panic. But being informed and vigilant and practicing simple hygiene, I think is still very, very important and can make all the difference as global health agencies and local experts track the situation quite closely. Hey, it's almost 5-6 years now since COVID-19. Are there any steps? Are there any habits that you picked up from that COVID-19 Armageddon era that we were living in that you've adopted and they've become part of your daily life to this day? Do you still sanitize? Do you still wear a face mask? Do you still keep your distance, 1.2 meters or whatever it was? Are there any habits that you've kept? Do you still sneeze into your elbow? Can engage with us, can send us a message. Our studio line is 0116800355. On WhatsApp, you can send us a voice note on 0617660355 because I think COVID was such a scary kind of period for all of us that you just had to. You just had to adapt. You just had to start doing things differently, carry yourself differently. And for some people, I still know people that still extensively sanitize. So they'll sanitize their hands, they'll sanitize door handles, tables. There are people that still have a face mask. It's still a feature on some people around me, especially when they have a flu. I think maybe for managing like the flu, like the common cold, I think COVID has taught us a lot, how you can take care of yourself, washing of hands, wearing a mask, protecting others that are around you, and recognizing that, these things might be simple for you to almost catch and almost recover from quickly, but there are people with compromised immune systems that can get really, really sick and potentially even lose their lives. So engage with us. Are there any habits from the COVID-19 era that you've kept with you that you still say, this worked? Wearing a face mask, it worked. It's protecting me from everything else. Washing my hands, which should be the norm and standard for everyone. When you sneeze into your shoulder, what else? Hand sanitizer, hydrating your body. Yeah, I want to know any old habits that COVID-19 made stick to you that you've kept 6 years on since the pandemic. Again, you can engage with us. Our studio line is 011 as 0116800355. On WhatsApp, you can send us a message, a voice note on 0617660355. We're going to take a quick break. News and views continues after this.